Delicious. Hi, it's Tom Spellman with Dave Wilson Nursery. It's a crisp January day here in the San Joaquin Valley, and we're ready to do some of our winter detail pruning on our backyard style orchard. The orchard has been in the ground now for almost 2 years. It was planted in March of 2011. I want to come in now and start doing a little bit of winter detail work. We're going to start here with our plums and pluots. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some major decisions on opening up the center. So I've got my big loppers here, and I'm going to come right in and look for areas where the growth is too thick in the center. So it's real easy to do with these loppers. I can get right in here and make a couple of cuts and take out most of the wood that I want to take out right away. There's one. There's two. Maybe just a couple more cuts for balance here. And we've got our center pretty well opened up. So now let's take a look at some of the other detail issues here. We still have quite a bit of inward growing growth or little shrubby growth down here in the center, so I'm going to get that out just so that we have good light exposure and air movement here so that our fruit crop will ripen up. These trees really don't need that much. They really just need to have the centers opened up a little bit. I don't like this inward growing growth. Some of these areas have a little bit of growth that's crisscrossing, so we can take that out. But in general, I think that's all I'm going to do to this tree, because we've got lots of nice fruiting wood out here. We're going to get a nice crop of fruit out here on the structure, and we can come in and do another summer pruning. You can see where we summer pruned here last season at about 5 feet. So we'll get one more nice flush of growth this next summer, and we'll summer prune one more time up to about 7 feet, and that's going to be finished size for these trees. Okay, this is our emerald drop pluot, and we've got way too much growth in the center, and I'm going to make one big cut right there. I'm going to take that whole center out of the tree. Now that one cut opened up all kinds of space here, so really all I need to do now is go in and look for some of this interruptive growth, some of this growth that's coming back in toward the center from the outer branches, and remove that. We've got lots and lots of fruiting wood on this variety, and emerald drop is such a good pluot. I'm really looking forward to this one here next season. I don't want to take too much of that fruiting wood out, because again, I can come in later on next year, 2 years down the road, I can always remove more of that little shrubby growth, but this is going to give us plenty of fruit here this next season. So 30 seconds, 45 seconds is all the work I really had to do on this tree. Let's look at Flavor King. Flavor King's pretty well balanced. Flavor King's kind of a compact growing variety in itself. I think I will take out this little center section just like I did on the emerald drop. I will open that up a little bit more. And now I'm just going to make a couple of other cuts for structural balance. A little bit of interruptive growth, but not much. Flavor King still one of our all-time taste test winners on the pluots. This is one that we always look forward to in the summertime. Tree stays nice and compact on its own. Good pollinizer for other varieties, and we're going to get lots of nice fruit off this tree. Here's our Flavor Finale. This is one of Mike Tomlinson's favorite varieties here at the nursery. Again, the center's pretty well opened up on this. There's just a little bit of growth coming back in. So we'll make a few key cuts. Just looking for balance, just looking so that when I step back and look at the tree, I have a pretty nice balance of material. These trees are in a hedgerow style, so this is not something where I want the tree to be as wide as it is lateral in the row here. So I want this growth to kind of go out and form a nice tight hedge eventually. So I'm leaving more growth this way and taking out more growth this way. This is Flavorosa. This is our earliest pluot to ripen up. Again, just a little bit of work in here on the center. Take that out. Take that out. Interesting thing about this variety, Flavorosa, we summer pruned all these at the same time, but Flavorosa has grown out 24 inches since it was summer pruned, where the other varieties have grown out maybe 6 inches or 8 inches. Well, Flavorosa being the earliest one to ripen up, the fruit's off early, so it spends less time harvesting or ripening a crop of fruit and more time back into vegetative growth late in the summer. So we'll need to do a little bit more top work on this one to get it back into a balance where we want it. Some of this inward growing growth we can take out. Take some of these forks back to doubles or singles. And then we'll just come right in at about a little over 5 feet where the other ones were topped. So now understanding the growth pattern of this variety and knowing that it grows out a little more vigorously later in the summer because it doesn't have its fruit set, I'll know next summer that I'm gonna summer prune this one a little bit more aggressively. I think that's good. So there, in just a matter of a few minutes, we've done our 6 pluots and plums, and we can work on to step 2. Let's move on up here to our apple. We have typical late season apples, Granny Smith and Pink Lady. They don't want to go dormant. Even here in the Central Valley, where we've had many, many nights down into the 30s already this season, these trees just don't want to go dormant. So if you want to do a good effective winter spray, what you need to do is you need to physically put them into dormancy, which means defoliation. So get in here and get the foliage off. Now, if you're going to do some major pruning, you want to do that first because that's defoliation that you don't need to do. One pruning cut can take a lot of foliage off. I think I want to take this branch out because it's kind of low and kind of interruptive. This can go out later, but I think I'll leave it for now. Maybe I'll check it for now. So all I really want to do is make a couple of other cuts to some growth that'll give us some outward growth here this next season. Now, Pink Lady, still green and vigorous, and the tips are hardened up, but it just doesn't want to defoliate. So we need to look at some work that we want to do here. This is going to go out. This is going to go out. That's going to go out. So there's some cuts that did defoliation that I don't have to do manually. If you want to get a good, effective wintertime dormant disease control on for your apples, for apple scab and powdery mildew, it's really important that you defoliate it. You don't need to remove the foliage. The foliage can just lie there on the ground, but you definitely want to make sure that you're getting the tree defoliated. So a little bit more work than most people would like to do, but I'll tell you what, on nice size controlled small trees, defoliation takes just a few minutes. It's not a big major issue, so you can do it in a short period of time. You're not going to do this to a 15 or a 20 or a 25 foot apple tree, so size management is really important for maintenance tips like this. You know, I'm not going to be 100% if I leave a leaf or two. I'm not going to agonize over that. I just want to make sure I get most of it off. So now in just a couple of minutes, we've size controlled, we've winter pruned, and we've defoliated a combination of 3 apple trees, so we can move right on to the next one. This is our Nectarine peach combination, including our Spice Z Nectar plum. We're going to be a little bit more aggressive with this variety because we know it grows later in the season, and it's in the favored position in this combination. It's the southwest corner. So if I don't keep this variety in check a little more dramatically, it's going to outgrow the other 3 in the next year. So we want to start with this. We want to make sure we come in and open up our centers a little bit. We want to take out some of this growth that's taking up too much of our center space. So a lot of this inward growing growth. We've got way too much material on here, so I can make some bigger cuts in here. I can take out, with a couple of cuts in here, I can take out a lot of the growth that we really don't need. Okay, now that central growth is pretty effectively eliminated. It's open nice in there. So let's do a little bit of work out here on the sides. This is way too long and lanky. If this sets fruit out here, this is going to be either broken or on the ground. So we need to check these branches back pretty aggressively. I don't need 5 feet of growth out on some of these. So I want to lighten it up so that whatever fruit crop we get, we can effectively thin and hold well on the tree. So a lot of these forks, areas where a cut was made before, and we've got 3 or 4 or 5 forks coming off that, we're going to take those down to 2, or maybe even 1 if it's an area where we have lots of aggressive growth. Got a little bit too much growth down here in the center. We won't get any light exposure or air movement, so we can take some of that out. Remember, I said I want to keep this in check with the other varieties, so I'm making sure that I'm bringing down the size to about 5.5 to 6 feet so that it's no bigger or more vigorous than the other varieties in the combination. So now we've checked the most vigorous variety in the collection here in the selection of 4. We've opened up the centers. We've got it pruned to a nice balance with the other varieties. So we can simply take a look at the other varieties and see if there's any detail work that we need to do. There's a little bit of wood in here in the center that's already declining because it was in too much of a shaded area. So we can take that out because we know the shade's going to get even more dense this next season. Lots and lots of fruiting wood on these. We're going to get a great crop this year. So I'm really not too concerned with cutting out too much fruiting wood because there's a lot here. Now you can see this tree, in order to balance out this combination, we've kind of opened up the center on this tree before. So a lot of our growth really comes out here to the north and northeast. So I think we need to do a pretty substantial clipping out here so that we just lighten that up. I don't want too much weight out here on this side. Everybody's always concerned with having a tree that's not balanced. And when you have a combination, a 3-in-1 or a 4-in-1 combination, every tree is not going to be balanced, but the combination is going to be balanced within itself. So we want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration and not letting any one variety come out too far in any one direction. So just a little bit more aggressive pruning out here will make a big difference in how this tree holds its fruit load this summer. So there, in just a matter of a few minutes, we've got our nice 4-in-1 combination balanced out and ready to go for next season. We've got everything managed now for this spring for our new blossom set. We're going to get plenty of fruit out here. We've got lots of fruiting wood. The next thing we'll do will be a little bit of work on thinning. When the fruit's about the size of a green pea or the size of a dime, you want to make sure, especially on early varieties, that you're thinning aggressively and thinning early. We will now come in and do our wintertime dormant sprays on these trees with a spray now in January while the trees are completely dormant, and one more spray just as the trees are starting to show popcorn stage bud or break bud, just as you're starting to see bud swelling and a little bit of color, not an open flower, but a little bit of color on that partially open bud. We'll do our second dormant spray at that time. So everybody get out, get some pruning done. Remember, prune for a purpose. Keep your trees short and managed, and eat plenty of good quality tree ripe fresh fruit every chance you get.